All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to today's installment of the Regional Report, a GPEC virtual series. Today's webcast will feature experts discussing mega events and what it means for large-scale events to be hosted in Greater Phoenix. Today, our panelists will discuss how their events impact the regional economy, as well as the charitable components that benefit our communities. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us this afternoon. I'm Eric Sperling with STN, and if you haven't yet, we invite you to download the STN app from the App Store or Google Play. It's our local streaming network, and it is filled with shows and segments dedicated to local leadership, community growth, and actionable solutions. You'll also find a number of shows and segments featuring GPEC CEO Chris Camacho there. It's a great media source for local business and nonprofit leaders, and we truly value our partnership with GPEC and hosting this virtual series. If this is the first time you're joining us, some housekeeping items to go over. Today's webinar will run for approximately 1 hour. Audience members are muted and without video. Today's webinar is being recorded and will be shared on the GPEC website and social media. You may submit questions using that Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, but due to time constraints, we may not be able to get to all those questions. Should you experience any technical difficulties, please try logging out, checking your connection, and logging back in. We do invite you to share this information on social media. Please feel free to tag GPEC and use the hashtag #PHX together where appropriate. We have 3 speakers joining us today. We'll be hearing from Jay Parry, President and CEO of the Arizona Super Bowl Host Committee, Bob Whitehouse, Chief Operating Officer of the Fiesta Bowl, and Chance Cozby, Executive Director, Thunderbirds WM Phoenix Open. Unfortunately, Glenn Lear, he was representing the M3F Music Festival, unable to join us today, but we'll still be covering a wide range of information with these 3 speakers. Okay, first thing, let's talk to Jay Parry. As President and CEO for the Arizona Super Bowl Committee, Jay is responsible for leading all aspects of the planning and execution of the event here in Arizona. She also oversaw the record-breaking Super Bowl 49 when it was hosted here back in 2015. Jay has spent her career building businesses and franchises to a championship level and has worked in other executive roles for Bank of America, the Phoenix Mercury, and the Phoenix Suns. Welcome, Jay. Thank you so much, and take it away.
Eric, thank you so much. Well, I'm excited to be with all of you and talk a little bit about just this incredible impact that major events are having on Arizona and why Arizona is so well suited to host all of these major events. So I was going to fly through a PowerPoint slide presentation so that we have time for questions at the end, and just excited to be here with you all. So we can go ahead and advance the slide. As you walk into the Super Bowl Host Committee offices, I will tell you there is a countdown clock. And this morning it said 55 days, which, being 2 months shy of Super Bowl 57 on February 12th, I mean, it's coming so fast. I can't believe it. You're also going to hear from Chance with the Waste Management Open. And we love that Super Bowl and the Waste Management Open are on the same weekend because it makes it the place to be for the entire world. So we're going to just flip to the next one and talk just a bit about how we think about our mission on behalf of Arizona. So the host committee is put in place so that we can drive lasting impact, both from a social standpoint on our communities as well as economic impact. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a bit. And then fulfill the obligations that were made, in this case, back in 2018, when the bid was first awarded to Arizona. And our goals are to take this enormous global platform and showcase Arizona and why it is such a tremendous place, right, to work and to live and to certainly come on vacation and do business. And then secondly, as I mentioned, really fuel that economic engine that happens certainly the time leading up to Super Bowl, that 10-day period around Super Bowl, but there's also a very long economic tail that is created long after the game is played. And that is what leaves a lasting legacy. So we'll advance to the next slide. Just a little bit as we look back on 2015 when we hosted Super Bowl 49, we measure things a lot of different ways. This is the 4th time that we'll be hosting Super Bowl. And last time around, Arizona State measured the economic impact at about $720 million. And we looked at, tens of thousands of visitors, 5,000 plus media members coming to Arizona. And I won't go through all these numbers, but I will tell you we have a pretty hefty scorecard in terms of, and a great foundation and roadmap from 2015 that allows us to really elevate as we look at hosting in just 55 short days. And so we want to make sure that we are creating bigger and better programs for our residents, for our local businesses, as well as all the visitors that come to Arizona. So next slide. As we look ahead to just kind of how do we measure ourselves in these big buckets, the host committee is a fundraising organization, as a 501c6. And so we fundraise to be able to host Super Bowl. We measure economic impact, as I mentioned, and we do measure the money that we give back to nonprofits here in Arizona. And that's really important to kind of what we stand for in our DNA and leaving Arizona stronger than before we hosted Super Bowl. And so if we flip to the next slide, in terms of our preview, we want to ensure that this is a statewide and a regional effort. And that comes in many, many different forms. So when people step off the airplane or they step out of their house in Mesa, Arizona, they know they are in Super Bowl country and that it really is Super Bowl season. So we think about this as a regional effort. And it does take our hospitality partners, our businesses, our elected officials, our municipalities. So many people contribute to the success of Super Bowl that it does take a village to get it done. The second thing is I wanted to talk just a little bit about our community engagement and social impact programs. And then lastly, I'll give you a snapshot of what game week looks like at a very high level, because there's going to be a lot going on. So the next slide will show you something that we unveiled last week. And these are oversized LVII monuments around the valley. And so as you can see, there's one out in Glendale now, one in Old Town Scottsdale, one in Goodyear. There'll be one eventually in downtown Phoenix. And so these are posted around the valley so that they can be basically used for social media and selfies and to, again, create that excitement for Super Bowl that's coming up quickly. And then if you look a little bit about the next slide at our community pillars, these are, as we look at the community programs that we will be facilitating and executing, these were the top 4 categories, if you will, that were really put together by our stakeholders here in Arizona, right? If we're going to give back, if we're going to create community impact and programs, education and improving that in Arizona is number 1. Health and wellness obviously goes hand in hand with the NFL and the game of football. Diversity, equity, inclusion, and social justice is something we also spend quite a bit of time on. And lastly, environmental programs and looking at how we can make sure that Super Bowl is taking, I guess, sustainability measures. And that was really important to Arizona because we want to be showing that we are sustainable and we are progressive. So if you go to the next slide, some of the ways we do that in the upper left-hand corner, we host something that's called CEO Forum, and we work closely with GPEC, the Arizona Commerce Authority, and many economic development stewards around the valley to invite CEOs from outside Arizona to come to Super Bowl for the weekend and really hear the story of why Arizona is an amazing place to do business and why we are so pro-business. So we spend 3 days with the CEOs, telling them the Arizona story, having them hear directly from our sponsors that have invested in Super Bowl as to why they should come and do business here. And then to the right of that is what we call our Business Connect program. And this is a supplier diversity initiative that we partner with the NFL on. And we have 220 businesses that are really best in class here in Arizona that are minority owned, women owned, LGBTQ plus owned, and veteran owned. And they come together for professional development workshops, for networking opportunities with each other, as well as with procurement officers around the valley. And then also they'll be eligible for Super Bowl related contracts. So it's a way that we really want to bolster Arizona businesses and make sure that we are creating that direct economic impact right around the game. And then if you go to the lower left-hand program, our Super Bowl Legacy Grant program is where, again, we partner with the NFL and give back about $2.1 million to Arizona nonprofits. And we're in the process of rolling those grants out right now. And so that's a really obviously fulfilling and satisfying part of this endeavor. And then lastly, on the right, we are looking at a number of different sustainability measures and metrics. And so our goal as a host committee is to make this the greenest Super Bowl ever. And so we have 8 or 9 different programs that we're undertaking to make sure that this is the greenest program and that we have, a small carbon footprint, if you will, from this enormous event called Super Bowl. And then if you move to the next slide, this is just a snapshot of some of the biggest programs and what I would call the NFL collaboration in terms of their major events. Starting on Monday, the 6th of February is opening night, and that will be at Footprint. And that is an event where fans can come and see both participating teams. This is kind of their only opportunity to see both participating teams. And it's a little bit like back in the day, it was called Media Day, and now it's a nighttime event. It's very fan friendly, and it's everyone's opportunity to see those participating teams. And then on Tuesday, the host committee puts together a media party for the 3,000 to 5,000 media personnel in town. And that's our opportunity to really host them and make them feel welcome and really start their week off. And again, show kind of our Arizona hospitality. And then we move into, again, a number of different events. Probably the most important is on Thursday. Super Bowl experience at Hance Park will kick off. And then Super Bowl experience at the Phoenix Convention Center will be going on as well. One of the biggest press conferences that the NFL hosts is the halftime act. And just in case you've been living under a rock, the halftime act will be Rihanna this time. And so there's a lot of excitement around having her in town. And then we just move on Friday, more of Super Bowl experience. There'll be a music fest brought to you by Bud Light on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday night at Footprint Center. Then on Saturday, the Taste of the NFL happens, which is also another community program where money is raised to give back to food insecurity. And that will be hosted at Chateau Lux, kind of in North Phoenix. And then we get to game day. So that is just a snapshot of the week, the very biggest events. Literally, there will probably be 300 events going on around the valley with different promoters and producers that want to really ride on the coattails of Super Bowl and the WM Open, because this will be the place to be. I want to just finish on a slide that is Super Bowl experience at Hance Park, so that you're all aware. This is the free outdoor fan festival that will go from Thursday, February 9th through Sunday, February 12th. It'll have national recording artists, local cuisine, Arizona culture will be showcased. And it's, as I said, free. It's at Hance Park in downtown Phoenix. And one of the exciting new elements this time, as we elevate our game here in Arizona, we will host the first ever Super Bowl watch party on that Sunday in the park. And it will be, again, free admission, opening at 11. And we'll show the game on what I'm calling the biggest screens in the Northern Hemisphere. So there will be very big screens to watch the game, as well as to enjoy all the commercials and really be in a fun Super Bowl environment. So we are going to end on a video, and then you'll know as much as you can about Super Bowl. Here we go.
Welcome to Arizona. It's our time.
Hey, Arizona, we're on the clock.
We're on the clock.
We're on the clock.
The Super Bowl coming to AZ.
This is the 4th time the Super Bowl has been in the great state of Arizona.
Super Bowl 57 is coming to the desert.
Arizona, are you ready?
Can't wait for kickoff.
February 2023 will be here before we know it.
Let's go, Arizona. Let's go, Arizona. It's our time.
It's our time.
It's game time.
It's game time. I'll be there, will you?
Welcome to Arizona.
All right, Jay, is that the end of the presentation? What a great way to end it with the video there. Yeah.
That's a wrap, Eric.
That's
now
a
we
wrap.
can move on to the Fiesta Bowl, which has a shorter timeline than we do.
Some fantastic and familiar faces in that video. Thank you so much. Reminder to those of you who are watching, there's that Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen. So if you have questions for Jay, we'll try to get to some of those at the end of today's webinar. All right, let's move on. As we mentioned, the Fiesta Bowl. I'd like to welcome Bob Whitehouse, the Chief Operating Officer for the Fiesta Bowl. He oversees the execution of both the Verba Fiesta Bowl and the Guaranteed Rate Bowl. He's been with the organization since 2014. He oversees all of the Fiesta Bowl's ancillary events and is responsible for managing over 3,000 volunteers for the organization. Thank you so much for being here, Bob. We'll give it over to you.
Well, thanks a lot, Eric. And I'm honored to have an opportunity to talk to your group today. If we go to the next slide, we'll jump right into it. Our mission is we're dedicated to providing a premier college football experiences and local events while we want to create economic impact for the state and also provide charitable resources for our community. And I think that kind of ties in with what both Chance is going to talk about and what Jay just mentioned. So if we go on to the next slide, one of our taglines, though, is we're more than just a game. And Jay mentioned we've got the shorter timeline. It's 12 days until the Fiesta Bowl, but we just had our parade Saturday, and we had over 100,000 people in downtown Phoenix for that. You can see that. We host almost 30 events throughout the year. Some of the bigger ones are the kickoff luncheon in August, where we've had some legendary speakers like Steve Spurrier, Lou Holtz, Tom Osborne, Urban Meyer, and Bob Stoops. And then we have a 3-day golf event in October over at Mountain Shadows Golf Resort, a par 3 challenge, where we're able to generate a ton of money for charity. We do a lot of charitable events, building, you can see in this slide, some playgrounds being built by our volunteers. And then we do some youth events as well, including a football clinic. And then the game that's on the nearest horizon, or the closest fire to our feet, is the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, which will be in 8 days. So we've got our work cut out for us for that. And that'll be at Chase Field in downtown Phoenix. So we really want the folks out there to understand that we're a year long. The typical question I always get is, well, Bob, what do you do the other 11 months of the year? You're just busy for that 1 month? And that couldn't be further from the truth. So we're busy throughout the year hosting different events that hopefully bring a spotlight on the organization and also on Arizona. As we go to the next slide, we couldn't do all these events without our volunteers. They're really the secret sauce to what we do. We have over 3,000 volunteers, including our board of directors, our Yellow Jacket committee, our ambassadors, and our general volunteers. And all told, they put in over 26,000 hours a year, helping us execute, plan, and fundraise for our different events. And you can see a couple of folks there. The Yellow Jackets are probably the most known and obviously the most obvious in the community with their Yellow Jackets, and also our ambassadors you may see with their red, yellow, and orange sweaters out there that are our hospitality arm to this organization. But without these folks, we could not be successful. So if there's any folks out there that are interested in volunteering with something, we always will encourage them to sign up at fiestabowl.org. If we go to the next slide, the impact that our game and other events have put on has provided over $13 billion over the past 12 years. Now, just a quick reminder, we've had some what they call a double hosting model previously during the BCS era, where we had a champ game, the Fiesta Bowl, and back then it was the Insight Bowl or the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl at the same time. Now, currently, we're just 2 games, with the exception of 2016, where we also helped. It was a host committee similar to what Jay's doing with the Super Bowl for the national championship under CFP. Currently, the economic impact is about $175 million annually. And then another big piece of information there is over 7,000 hotel room nights a year. And the majority of that comes between Christmas and New Year's, when it's a little bit of a lull for our hotel industry. So this is key. Another anecdotally, during COVID, we still had the Fiesta Bowl. We weren't able to have some of our events, but because of the Fiesta Bowl, one of the resorts that hosts our team did more business in that week that the team was here than they had done from March to December 1st. So that's the kind of impact that this game, similar to what you're going to hear from Chance and what you heard from Jay about the Super Bowl, has on the local economy. Go to the next slide. The other big piece that I talked about is being able to give back to the community. So we're not owned by anybody. We're owned by the community. So what we make, we give back to the community. There's not an ownership group that is getting the proceeds. It's going to be the community. So we've given back $23 million in the last 7 years. During COVID, we gave back $5.5 million. This year, we're doing just over $3 million, and we do that in different ways. And there's lots of numbers here that we're very proud of at this organization that you guys can read. I'm not going to read each one of them to you, but we're very fortunate to be able to give back. And that's not just to the Valley, it's to the entire state of Arizona. We put we put a grass field into Chase Field every year, and then we donate that in the community. There's one in Tolleson. There's one in Central Phoenix. Hans Park, where Jay was talking about the outdoor, we helped build that park as part of our 50th anniversary a couple of years ago. So we're very proud of that. And building playgrounds in communities that are underprivileged and underserved. So give those folks an opportunity to have a safe place to go play each day. If we go to the next slide, our pillars that our board has set up, I know Jay had the list that the Super Bowl host committee uses. Similar to us, we've decided we can't be everything to everyone. So we're going to focus on 3 things. And our 3 pillars are youth, sports, and education. So we do our grant process every year. And I believe this year we put out almost $2 million in grants. And usually each of those grants are affiliated with at least 2, if not all 3 of these pillars. And we figure that aligns most with our mission is these 3 pillars. So we try to keep that in mind. And then obviously our Wishes for Teachers program, we donate $1 million in granting 400 teachers wishes this year and in previous years. And that ties to the education pillar. We go on to the next slide. So with that, Eric, that kind of wraps up short and sweet, but what we do, and look forward to 2 great matchups. Like I said, we've got the Guaranteed Rate Bowl, which will be on the 27th at Chase Field in downtown Phoenix. And then the playoff game between TCU and Michigan out at State Farm Stadium, where the Super Bowl will be played on December 31st. So just 12 days away.
Very busy time. Thank you for that, Bob. All right, we're going to wrap up here the beginning part of our presentations. Lastly, we'll be learning about the WM Phoenix Open, hosted by the Thunderbirds, of course. Chance Cozby has been a member of the Thunderbirds since 2019 and currently serves as their executive director. Prior to this, Chance worked in sports marketing for Ping Golf for 20 years. He also played golf for the University of Oklahoma. So, Chance, I'll let you wrap up our kind of roundtable presentation discussion here as we talk about the WM Phoenix Open.
Thank you very much, Eric, and thank you for having us on. Appreciate Chris Camacho and everyone at GPEC for giving us the opportunity to talk about our great events. It really is an amazing time in our city. Every year it is, when you go from the Fiesta Bowl to Barrett-Jackson to the WM Phoenix Open, then you have the Super Bowl, and then you roll right into spring training. And it makes it really easy for those of us that live here and run these events of why everybody loves to come enjoy the Valley. So, we're obviously, you can go ahead and go to that next slide. That's a little shot of 18. Couple comments, Jay, that was outstanding. We're very proud to be a part of the Arizona host committee for the Super Bowl. That kind of runs right into what is the mission of the Thunderbirds. And that is to promote the Valley of the Sun through sport. Our group was founded in 1937, and we're very proud that we're about to host our 88th WM Phoenix Open. But it was started in a civic-minded organization with 55 members. We have about 330 total members now, and we have 55 active members. You have to be once you turn 45, you become a life member and you can be as involved or not as involved as you would like to be. And so it was really founded by the Goldwater family. You know, he was the chairman of our tournament for the first 18 years. And it took a while. I think that they just kind of felt like golf was going to be the arm that was going to help fuel this group. And we're obviously very proud of where it's grown and what it's become. The Thunderbirds is a 501c6, and then the Thunderbird Charity started in 1986. We're a 501c3. Basically, we run the event. We spend the entire year building it up and taking it down, and all of our proceeds are then moved over to Thunderbird Charities. And we have a great 15-member board that spends the rest of the year giving those monies out to the community for the families and organizations in need. So you can go to that next slide. So when you talk about our tournament, obviously this is the iconic 16th hole. We feel like we have a lot to offer. You know, we have 630 suites. You know, hopefully there's a lot of people on this call here that have been to our event. We have about 20 venues between the 16th and 18th hole, but we're really focused on, while hospitality is what really drives our revenue and drives our charity give. Our focus every single year is on the general admission48 and that fan experience. We're a free event on Monday and Tuesday. So we're 48 days out. Jay is 55 days out. And Bob, you're on the clock. I can't wait to come watch the Fiesta Bowl. I actually heard your flyover on Saturday. It kind of rattled our neighborhood, and we knew the Fiesta Bowl parade was in full swing. But Ford sponsors everybody on Monday and Tuesday, so it's free. And we were very proud to keep our general admission ticket flat on Wednesday through Sunday. And so we're $50 on Wednesday and Sunday, and $75 on Friday, Saturday. And we're very proud of that. We want to keep it at a manageable number and on the lower end of other PGA Tour events or in different markets, and try to make that a very good experience for everybody that comes. And our biggest investment this year was in our fan zone. That is all a general admission area. And the presenting sponsor of our tournament, WM Phoenix Open, presented by Taylor Morrison, is a great local custom home builder, and their venue is on number 12, which is also a general admission venue that we're very proud of. It's actually the highest point on the entire golf course. We have about 5,100 volunteers. A typical PGA Tour event has about 1,500, but we also, we have a large group, we have a large crowd, and it takes a lot to manage. And it's not just the volunteers. I think all of us get to deal with different municipalities, but we couldn't do this without the City of Scottsdale and City of Scottsdale PD and City of Scottsdale Fire. They are so impressive, and they keep our venue safe and keep our fans safe and keep our players safe with such a high volume of fans on course. Thunderbird Charities, as you can see, we have about 300 plus charities that we support. And obviously with WM as our title sponsor, we're the largest zero waste sporting event in the world. You can go ahead and go to that next slide. A few tournament stats. We have been tournament of the year 4 of the last 6 years on the PGA Tour. The PGA Tour actually didn't do tournament awards this year, and we're convinced it's a conspiracy theory because they didn't want to give it to us again. But we'll see. Our economic impact is not quite up to the Super Bowl level, but we use ASU to do an economic impact every 3 to 4 years. And we just did one for our 2022 event, and very proud to say we're at, 453 million and change. And that's really, that's what it's all about. That's why we're all here. We stopped announcing our attendance in 2019. A lot of people like to be focused on our attendance and our crowds. I can tell you, I've been a part of this group as a volunteer since 2010. I've attended hundreds of meetings on behalf of this tournament, and not one meeting have we ever talked about our attendance. It's never been a focal point. It's never been a goal. It's just a result. The community supports our event, and we simply could not do this without the support of the community and companies that spend their money and spend their time. But that gets us to our next point. We wanted to stop announcing attendance because we want the only number for people to focus on when you think about the WM Phoenix Open is our charitable give. And so we've shifted that focus, and it's been Cheryl Ruggiero on our staff for well over 20 years manages that for us. And we're very proud that we're one of the strongest charitable organizations on the PGA Tour, and very, 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 very proud of that. Obviously, our event this year is the week of February 6th. If everything goes well and we don't have a playoff, and I really hope we don't have a playoff because I want to watch the Super Bowl, the last putt will drop about 30 minutes before kickoff over at State Farm, and Jay's team is going to take over and put on arguably the greatest show in sports. So really looking forward to that. There's rumors we're going to try and get our champion in a helicopter to come over and see that Super Bowl after they get done with their media. So we'll see. So you can go ahead and go to that next slide. So this is a great pick of Dirk Bentley on our 16th hole during the Shot of Glory. Our Wednesday Pro-Am is really a fun day for us. WM does a great job along with a Nexus as the presenting sponsor of the Wednesday Pro-Am. We have 15 to 18 athletes and celebs in general that come support the event. It's really an incredible time, and a local media anchor, Scene McLaughlin, is on the 16th hole the entire day and does an incredible job. So that's really the day to come out, in my opinion. I think if you want to be up close and personal, the players are very relaxed. The entire event feels very relaxed on Wednesday, and then Thursday through Sunday, everybody outside the rope is pretty relaxed, but the players are not. The players are nervous, and so Wednesday is an incredible day. One item I want to touch on, is if you've been following the PGA Tour, there's been a lot of news on the PGA Tour this year with a little bit of competition, and they've introduced several events that they call designated or elevated. So our purse historically has been around $8 to $8.5 million, and we have been working closely with the PGA Tour this year, and we're recently announced and awarded a designated event. What that means is our purse is going to go from 8.5 million to 20 million. Significant increase. The winner of the event's going to win 3.6 million. It's really going to be the greatest WM Phoenix Open that we've ever put on, with the best field that we've ever had in Phoenix. So we're excited about that. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. Speaking of the strength of the field, that's our champion, Scotty Scheffler from last year. Scotty had never won a PGA Tour event until this last year. He won in Phoenix, and he went on to win several times last year, ultimately became the #1 player in the world. But when you talk about the WM Phoenix Open being an elevated event, we're really going to get the best players on the PGA Tour. Rory McIlroy, John Rahm, ASU product, Justin Thomas, Tony Finau, Jordan Spieth. They will all be at TPC Scottsdale in about 48 days. So we're excited about that. We know it's going to be our best field ever. And if I had my wish, we're going to have a couple top 10 players battling it out on Sunday, and then we're going to roll right into the Super Bowl, and it's going to be an incredible time for our city. You can go ahead and go to the next slide. We do dabble in the music business. I will tell you, I'm a bit of a golf junkie, so I like the golf side. But really, the Bird's Nest is an integral part of what we do, and has been around for a long, long time. When you think about the Phoenix Open, a lot of people say, I think about the 16th hole, I think about the greenskeeper. That's kind of your party, and I think about the Bird's Nest. And we actually introduced a new venue this year called Concert in the Coliseum, the Saturday before the Phoenix Open. This year we're going to have Maroon 5 playing on Saturday prior, and then we roll right into the Bird's Nest Wednesday through Saturday night. We've got a great lineup with the Chainsmokers and Machine Gun Kelly and Jason Aldean, and it's a great way to enjoy golf all day and then roll right over. But we have a lot of people that go to the Bird's Nest and they don't know anything about golf, and they're going to get there when the doors open at 3:30 and have a great night. And we close that down at about 10:30. I'm not sure the neighbors love us around there, but we work hard to take care of them. We do pay for the security for all of the neighborhoods around our venue, and we definitely take care of them with tickets. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. So speaking of our impact, this is a great picture of Phoenix Children's Hospital. I got to attend an event here a couple of years ago, and you just look at the smiles on the face there. Our event last year from the 2022 Phoenix Open did right at 10.5 million was our give back. And in the history of our event, we're at $176 million. That is the number that we are just unbelievably proud of. That's the number that we're focused on. And really, that's why all of us run these events. It's a golf tournament, it's a football game, it's a car auction, but we're so focused on giving back. And that's really what drives us on a daily basis, makes me proud to be a part of our group, proud to be a Thunderbird, and with like-minded people that just simply love to give back. So Phoenix Children's Hospital is just one of the 300 charities that we're very, very close with, and you can see our logo there. That we're proud to go around town, and when we see our logo, that really just kind of drives in what we like to do on a daily basis and run a big golf tournament. So you can go ahead and go to the next slide. I think that's it. That is our concert in the Coliseum, and a couple of our numbers that I just kind of went through on the Phoenix Open and Thunderbird charities. So that was a pretty quick rundown. I don't know how many minutes I went. I wasn't keeping track, and hopefully we'll have a good Q&A session as we continue with this. Thank you very much.
That was perfect, Chance. Thank you. Okay, we're going to get into some of those moderated questions, and reminder that you can use that Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen if you'd like to ask a question. Hopefully we can get to it before the webinar wraps up. One of the questions that I'm staring at right here, and there are a lot of business leaders on this call. At STN, we work with a lot of business and nonprofit leaders, and I feel like this discussion comes up a lot. And I'm going to ask each of you the question because you probably have a different answer. When it comes to visibility with a mega event, how can Arizona companies and nonprofits gain visibility? Who does one talk to, or how could we go about creating a relationship? And Jay, I'll start with you. And I hear it all the time. As soon as the Super Bowl comes to town, a lot of business owners, a lot of nonprofits get excited, but then that deer in the headlights look kind of happens. I don't even know what step one is to potentially get involved. Can you help us answer that?
Yeah, sure. So I think there's a couple easy ways, and it probably relates to all three events. I mean, first and foremost, all three of us are fundraising organizations. And so we do bring on sponsors that can activate their brands and gain visibility for their brands locally, as well as, on a broader stage or scale outside of Arizona. So there's always the opportunity to sponsor. as a part of that, again, all three of our organizations, the WM Open and the Fiesta Bowl and the Super Bowl, we all offer hospitality that you can't get from anyone else. And so if you have a need to entertain clients or prospects or develop relationships with any of your stakeholders, we have hospitality opportunities. So I would say reach out. We have that very unique program called Business Connect, which is for our minority-owned businesses locally. That's already off and running for Super Bowl. But if somebody, needs to raise their hand and figure out if they can get involved, we're always open to that. And then the last way is, through volunteering. And again, go to our websites and check it out. So I think there are a number of ways to get plugged in. And what makes these events successful is to have our community involved in supporting and engaged. That's what sets us apart from all the other markets, where you can go to a football game, a college game, you can go to a golf tournament. What sets Arizona apart is how we work together collaboratively and really, showcase our state very positively. So that's my short answer, and you can absolutely get involved.
No, that works. Bob, same question. What's your advice for someone looking to get involved?
So Eric, I would piggyback what Jay just said. Again, we're always looking for partners, both financially and also with our volunteers. We just had a parade, obviously Saturday, that we had several partners that had entries in the parade, as well as groups that brought volunteers out to participate in the parade. The unique thing about us is we're year round with all our different events. So we've had some partners that come out to us and say, hey, I don't want to just be at for 1 week or one day. Is there a way you can spread our message and our brand out? So we'll try to tie them into all of our events as well. But reach out. You can reach out directly to us. The other thing is we go through an RFP process for all of our vendors, kind of similar to the Business Connect that Jay was talking about for the Super Bowl host committee. And whenever we're looking for vendors to do, and we're required to do that at a minimum of every 3 years for anything that we use, we post that on our website. We use our Yellow Jacket committee that's similar to Chance was talking about the Thunderbirds. It's about the same size group. We're about twice the size of active members, but they put stuff out on LinkedIn as well. And if you just want to get involved with the organization to see what it's about, you can always volunteer. We've got lots of opportunities to volunteer. And as I said in my presentation, it's the volunteers that make a difference. And as I have always suggested to our group of volunteers, you're getting twice the bang for your buck. You're putting on that hospitality, whether it's a fan that's at the game or a student athlete. It's their first time in Arizona. It's the first time they get to do something, and you're making it great for them. And by making it great for them, the proceeds, we're able to then enhance the lives of others that might be less fortunate through our grant process. And you get to see that firsthand. So I really think that's what makes the three organizations that you're talking about so different from other places.
Yeah, I'd love to see all of your inboxes around this time of year. I'm sure it's slow and steady, right? Chance, one last question regarding relationships. And, everyone talked about year-round engagement. But again, someone who's it's on the radar, like, WM Phoenix Open's coming right around the corner. Is it too late to get involved with some of that stuff? Or is it something that's already been established months ago?
Well, I would say for us, it's definitely a little bit late in the game for the 2023 WM Phoenix Open. It really is a year-round deal. I mean, just like Jay and Bob, we have a dedicated staff member that manages our info line, both on phone calls and emails. Our website is very, very good on how to get involved. But we'll never turn somebody away. We take cold calls and we take leads every single day, but we'll be very honest. We'll say, hey, there's really not an opportunity to activate at the 2023 tournament, but there could be an opportunity in 2024. And so we will talk to any potential partner at any given time during the year. I will say my inbox is a little intimidating. And so I'm looking forward to maybe a few quiet days in the next week or so while everybody's enjoying their holidays. But send us a note and reach out to us. I mean, we have 630 suites around our property. And you look at our presenting sponsor of Taylor Morse, an incredible local brand. they started as just a suite holder, and then the relationship just continued to grow and continue to grow. And then when we had an opportunity come about to be our presenting sponsor, that relationship was strong enough. They had enough belief in our event that they were able to take the number 2 position behind WM on the entire event. And that took years to build up. So my advice would be, it might be too late for this year, but never hesitate to reach out. And then that's going to grow to something in the future.
All right, I'm going to read some live questions coming in. I'll read these cold. And looks like the first one's a Super Bowl question. So Jay, how does the expected economic impact for Arizona compare to the impact from the past couple of Super Bowls and those host states?
Oh, gotcha. So comparing to Los Angeles last
Right.
year and gotcha, Tampa. Okay. Yeah. So, so what I will tell you is what Arizona does, and it's similar to what Chance and Bob referenced, we all use Arizona State University. So there's a real consistency of how we measure, and we think that's important, right? So we can have these, fair comparisons. I didn't see the economic impact figure from Los Angeles, and so I actually don't know if they did measure that. And then I will just tell you, Tampa was right in the heat of COVID. Yeah. But typically we see Super Bowls kind of generally in the hundreds of millions of economic impact, and so we don't make projections for what it will be this time around. As a reminder, we hosted Super Bowl and Pro Bowl, a week apart. And so those were both encompassed in that 720 million. So, I know it's going to be big, but I don't know what it's going to be this time around.
Got it. Okay. Let's go with, let's see. How do these mega events affect the brand of the region and how we're seen nationwide? So Bob, we'll send that question over to you. We got a lot of college folks traveling to our region in the next few weeks. How does the mega events affect the brand of the region and how we're seen nationwide?
Well, to that point, Eric, I think the way we're seen nationwide is how we put on the event in two ways. Number one, what's the experience that everybody has? And number two, imagine what it's like when it's 10 degrees below zero in Wisconsin and you turn on your TV and you see it's 70 degrees. You see a snapshot of sunny skies, cactus in the background, beautiful golf courses. That's going to make people go, wait a minute, what are we doing sitting here in the cold Midwest? Well, let's book a flight and travel out there next year. Or, hey, the Phoenix Open is in a couple of weeks. Let's fly out there now to go see that. So I think that it has tremendous impact. And then as far as businesses that come out here, we've talked to people fans have come out and visited and had such a great experience during the 4 or 5 days that they're out here for the game, that they go, you know what, let's move down here, or I'm looking to expand my business. Let me bring it to Arizona, because who wouldn't want to be here? Cost of living, it is reasonable. It's tax friendly for businesses, and you have a great opportunity in the winter that, you can all get into the air conditioning when it's hot in the summer. It's tough to get warm and do things when you're in 5 layers of clothing in the winter.
No, that's a good answer. So those sitting there watching the game on TV, but then those who've decided to make the trip, very appealing. Chance, question for you coming in. WM Phoenix Open's coined the greatest show on grass. How do you maintain the sustainability components at such a large scale as the event continues to grow? I think one of your slides said zero waste there.
Yeah, I mean, that's really a nod to our title sponsor. WM has made a significant impact on our event. And we have a staff member that is focused on the sustainability efforts with WM, and that's really a year-long ongoing project. And really, hats off to our vendors. It's not easy to be a vendor at our golf tournament with what is required from the straws that you use, the plates that you use, the utensils that you use. We can't even wrap a sandwich in plastic. So we're, really WM has been great for us in this way. 100% of the material from the Phoenix Open is diverted from landfills. And so we're really the benefactor of having a title sponsor like WM. We feel like we have the best title sponsor on the PGA Tour. And as a result of this, they are now managing the sustainable efforts for the entire PGA Tour. And
That's
so
awesome.
I think that we've just been lucky, and their staff works extremely hard. It's a year-round education process. And the week of the tournament, it's not easy. When the gates close at 6 p.m. until the gates open the next day, TPC Scottsdale is a very busy venue. All the trash is taken care of. All of the porta potties are serviced, and it is a very, very busy venue in the middle of the night. And ultimately, all of that recyclable and compostable material is then processed, and we're able to keep it out of our landfills.
Awesome. Thanks, Chance. All right, Jay, some rapid fire Super Bowl questions coming in. Here we go. Which organization leads that CEO forum, and how can we connect to learn more information?
Sure. So connect with us here at the host committee, and then we work directly with ACA and GPEC and other economic development stewards around the Valley. So reach out to me.
All right, we're going to increase the load on that inbox. How does the Super Bowl host committee work to publish all of the information about the related events? Is there an existing list somewhere? And does the committee connect with municipalities to communicate those events publicly?
Yes, go to azsuperbowl.com. That's where all the events are posted. It's continually updated because events are added all the time. And we work primarily with the 9 municipalities around the Valley that have stepped up to be a partner with the host committee. And so, super proud to recognize Phoenix and Scottsdale and Mesa and Glendale and Avondale and Tempe and Goodyear and Peoria and Paradise Valley. And we work directly with them. And if other municipalities want to get involved, they can communicate to me directly, Eric.
I'm sorry. It's just going to happen.
It's all good. There's a lot of inbound, and it's all really positive, and there's a ton of excitement, and we love that, right? Because that's what makes these events great. So
exactly. Okay, one last Super Bowl question coming in. What's the best strategy for engaging the press pool about Arizona on the week of the Super Bowl? Do you focus on economic and social impact and engagement?
For sure. I mean, we have the 5,000 to 6,000, media credentials that get that are given to media leading up that week to Super Bowl. And so, in addition to all the football stories, there are so many stories about Arizona that we're trying to tell. And so, there's media. The media center is at the Phoenix Convention Center, and then we also have at Hance Park. I mentioned our free fan festival. We'll have CBS Sports broadcasting from there all week. We'll have ESPN in Old Town Scottsdale broadcasting all week. And then the official game broadcaster, Fox, is out in Glendale for a few days leading up to the game. So there's lots of ways to engage with the media, and we want to tell all these positive stories about Arizona. And my one last stat is when the game is broadcast, it'll go to more than 130 countries and more than 30 languages. So again, this is telling the story of Arizona that, all that exposure is, you can't even put a price tag on it.
All right, before we close, I'm going to give all of us a chance to kind of go around the room here and share some final thoughts. And Chance, we'll start with you. We've had a great discussion today talking about the economic impact of these mega events, also the social impact. I'm so glad you mentioned Cheryl from your team. Hopefully she's watching. She does a great job. Can you kind of wrap up for us just what this region can expect here in the coming weeks and coming months?
Yeah, I think it's going to be incredible. I mean, I feel like during about a 60-day period, there's so much going on we call it the Valley of the Sun. And now we're adding a Super Bowl to it. And so, what the Phoenix area offers, I think is unmatched. And like Bob said, when you turn the TV on and you see the environment of Arizona, why wouldn't you want to come here? And that's what it really showcases. And so when it comes to the WM Phoenix Open, I would just encourage everybody to come out and see it. If you're managing your budget like many of us are, come on Monday and Tuesday. It's free. You can come out And on Tuesday is a massive day. We have a Special Olympics putting contest, and we have a Dream Day clinic for junior golfers. And so whether you come on Saturday, our busiest day, or you just want to come out on Monday and Tuesday and see it, we welcome everyone. Parking's free. We try to make it as easy as you possibly can to come to our tournament. And if you spend a little bit of money, just know that it's going to go to a good place when it's all done.
Awesome. All right, Bob, I know you're the one who's really on the clock here, so I'll let you wrap us up with some final thoughts. Before I get to Jay, some final thoughts from you, Bob.
Yeah, Eric, I think, as Chance and Jay have alluded to, we're very fortunate to be in this state because our organizations have been so successful because of the support we get from the community, whether it's through volunteering, through sponsorships, or just coming out to the events. And to piggyback on what Chance said, if you're being budget conscious, maybe this year it's not the Fiesta Bowl or the Super Bowl, as ticket prices for both of those are pretty high right now on the secondary market. But we've got the Guaranteed Rate Bowl on December 27th that is very reasonably priced. I think you can get in the door at $45 for the lowest price. So come out, support it, and be part of something special, and know that what you're part of is going to turn around and go right back into the community and make other people's lives that much better.
Thanks, Bob. Okay, Jay, some final thoughts here for the business leaders on the call as we close things out.
Yeah, sure. I think it's what we touched on. I mean, these events that we host are incredibly fun to be a part of. And I think it is important that everyone understand that we are all working to make our community stronger and using the platforms of these events to do that. And I think that's part one. And part two is, again, we know what a great place Arizona is, but it's very competitive to get these additional events, right? And to keep the WM open at the level that it is, and to keep the Fiesta Bowl growing. And so it's a competitive environment, right? Las Vegas is starting to host a number of different events. Los Angeles is kind of getting back in the game. And so we need to stay on our game as a state. And so we look to the business leadership, we look to the elected officials that have invested so much in making Arizona great. We need to keep that up so that we can continue to, have these things available to our residents and to our businesses. So we appreciate the time of everyone getting on the call today and listening to us. We love to talk about this stuff because it is just great for Arizona. So thank you all.
Great points. Thank you so much, Jay. Thank you, Jay. Thank you, Bob. Thank you, Chance. And we appreciate all of you for joining on this call. Please keep a lookout for the next regional report. That will be in January, and that will be our economic snapshot to kick off the new year. Thanks so much, and we'll see you next time.